guys, as a special heads up, we are going to be moving the popcorn culture video portion of the show over to the actual popcorn culture YouTube channel. It will still be the exact same show. We will still be doing the premieres every Friday morning with you guys, but we just want to migrate it from the Super Carlin Brothers main channel over to a popcorn culture channel.
Yeah, that way everything on that channel can be centered around popcorn culture, and I don't have to feel weird about posting inside jokes about the pop on the main channel where not everyone watches it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if anything, it should give us a more tailor-fit experience.
More inclusive to the little kernel community.
Exactly. So it's just slide on over to that spicy subscribe button over on the Popcorn Culture YouTube channel, where you will continue to get the exact same show that you've always enjoyed.
Yes.
Maybe.
Best advice, go hit subscribe right now so you don't miss it.
And we're not going to move it for another 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue to give notice for some period of time. So nothing will change for a little while. It's a graceful transition.
That's right. Just letting you know in advance so you can be prepared and you don't go to Super Carlin Brothers one day and you're like, wait, where's the pop? Now you know.
Now you know. What's poppin', everybody? Hello and welcome to Popcorn Culture. My name is Ben Carlin and I am your host. Here with me today is my brother Jay, who will be in every episode.
Yes, known as the one true plush host by many. Some would call it the superior host, or although I have to say, Ben, I do not feel so plush this week.
I was just about to say,
Yeah.
Yeah, so this past weekend we had fellow GMA member Michael Austin's bachelor party.
That we did.
Where we went to Snowshoe Mountain in West Virginia, because everybody's favorite bachelor destination is, of course, West Virginia.
That's where yours was too.
It is.
Yeah.
Exactly where it is. So we're like batting 500 on locale of bachelor parties for the GMA.
50% of the GMA, and then mine was in Virginia Beach, and John's was in Durham, North Carolina. So
I would say John's was largely inside of a stretch Hummer limousine.
Yes, most of it was sort of a mobile bachelor party.
It was indeed. It was good times. But so this past weekend though, we were going downhill mountain biking, which you guys have known us to discuss before. This is like resort riding. So you go and there's actually like a chairlift that brings you back up to the top.
Yeah.
Meaning you don't basically have to climb anything at all.
Yeah, you can just sit on the bike and steer mostly.
Yeah.
Well, there's more to it than that for sure.
Yeah. But not that you understand.
Not that I understand, apparently, at all.
So go ahead and walk us through it, Jay, because you went down.
I went down, y'all. I went down hard. It was not so plush. It was more like sack of potatoes, just like flomping onto the ground.
Flomping. Is the exact appropriate onomatopoeia for the situation.
I do think flomp is the right word. Sadly, no one saw it. I was in this weird gap within the group where you and John and Steven had just rocketed down ahead, but I had apparently then rocketed that much further ahead of Mike as well. So you guys had rounded to the next turn and Mike hadn't come around the turn. So no one can quite describe what it looked like to me. I can only give you my my point of view perspective.
Yeah. And so here's the thing too, is that all things considered, there's no doubt about it, that we were going to the large side of the mountain. We had warmed up a couple of runs on like a green. So it's just like skiing or snowboarding, if you're familiar with those terms, like green circle, blue square, black diamond, double black diamond, that type of stuff. So we had done some greens. We were heading over to the big side of the mountain to do some blues. And I would largely say that we were not even full on the trail that we were going to yet. We were on the trail that leads to the trail that we were going on. And I feel like it was, I was frustrated for you because everything we're doing, I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's a sense of risk or danger involved. You're rocketing down a mountain, you're
on a bike.
You're going off of jumps. If you listen to the pop regularly, you know that we're constantly getting ourselves hurt doing this. But where we were, and what was so frustrating about your fall is that we weren't really on the features of it yet. The by design jumps and rocks and berms and all the rest.
So a lot of times, in my limited experience with the downhill parks thus far, you're sort of that you have the big ski trails that are like the, where you ski during the actual ski season.
Yes.
And you don't actually bike down those sections very much, but sometimes you have to like cut horizontally across them to get like to the next section of the mountain bike trail.
Exactly. Yeah. So they've like cleared the land for the ski slopes, but it's trees otherwise. And those trees are where the bike trails are.
Yeah. So we're in one of those little in-between sections where you're just traversing across what is typically a ski slope, and its really only purpose is to serve as a connector between the trails. It's like there's nothing that's supposed to be challenging about this part of the trail.
Right.
And so I think they probably just don't maybe like offer as much maintenance on it, but we were coming out of a big berm, just heading down the mountain, which if you're unfamiliar, the berms offer you like a sort of like a little turbo boost when you come off of them.
They're pretty remarkable. It's like being on a roller coaster, except your cart is not attached to rails. It's just like you can feel G-forces.
Right, because you get sideways.
Yeah. And so you can like feel the weight of your body and the bike like pressing into the ground. And with that and with the momentum, you come like...
Yeah, shooting out of it.
Exactly, yeah.
Pretty good. So anyway, we're shooting into this to like the ski slope traverse in between area there, off the berm, and there's just this big like sort of ditch in like the middle of the road, which is not supposed to be there. I think it was caused by like water runoff from like the rain.
Yeah. Right.
It's just like a naturally occurring ditch in the road. And I mean, I just saw it way too late, hit it a little nose heavy. Pretty sure what happened is the bike momentarily like slowed down a lot, which caused my body to start moving faster than the bike, which is a bad position to be in, because then the bike started moving again, nose still down. The nose then hits the ground, but again, my body is moving faster, so I then go past the nose of the bike.
Objects in motion tend to remain in motion.
Yes. So the problem was my body remained in motion, but for the briefest of seconds, the bike did not, and that made a huge difference.
Yeah.
Because I just went right over the handlebars. I have to assume I slammed, I think, my elbow into the ground. Fortunately, I was wearing pads. We looked at the pads later, and like my right elbow pad, completely clean, very nice. The left elbow pad, pretty sure saved me from like a shattered elbow, because it was pretty gnarly.
It was all but destroyed. And it was so funny too, because well, not funny, it was sad, but the like we were trying to assess your damage, and so like looking at you, I mean, you were covered in like road rash and scrapes and like blossoming bruises and all sorts of stuff. But then the shoulder that you were holding, like when we like ran up and we were like, whoa, Jay's on the ground, it was like completely fine.
Yeah, I think that one elbow, basically, I think I hit the elbow, which popped my shoulder out of joint briefly.
Yeah.
Which is what caused all the pain. But in hitting the elbow, I switched to the other side of my body, which then absorbed all of like the road rash and scraping and stuff.
Yes.
Slashed my hip. It's a very weird crash, because I am in pain like on so many parts of my body, like actively every day, every moment since then. But like if I put a shirt on, you can't even tell.
I know, yeah. You look like completely ordinary.
Yeah, I look very ordinary right here. I have just the worst bruise on the side of my hip right now. It is gross to look at.
It's remarkable.
It's remarkable. And then there's a road rash all over my back and shoulder and stuff like that. So it's it was only our third run of the first day of riding.
I know.
And I was done for the weekend, but that was a bummer. But everyone was very cool about it. Everyone just, fortunately, since we'd gone to the other side of the mountain, where I had crashed actually was right next to the very road the house we were staying at was on, which had we crashed just about anywhere else, it would have been a very long trek back to help or anything. So that was lucky. But
also the fact that you didn't have a head injury.
Yes.
Like, this is like having dealt with the small myriad of crashes that we've had over the past couple of months with our riding group. I think that I have become just like painfully aware of how scary hitting your head is.
Yeah.
And so, of course we talked about it on the pop probably 10 episodes ago now. But our good friend Michael Austin, whose bachelor party we were celebrating, he basically landed on his face going off of a jump. And it was like really, really hard to see. And, like his whole eye was just like swollen shut, and it was like a whole thing. And we didn't have full face helmets. And so like the first thing everyone did after that accident was we all went and bought full face helmets.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, in your particular fall, it was also the case that the helmet largely did nothing.
Well, there were some nicks on it.
There were,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, but fortunately, I did not hit my head very hard in any way.
Exactly. Right. So I think on the whole, it was kind of like, okay, let's get this guy full of, ibuprofen, some bandages, some anti-bacterial stuff.
Yeah. Nothing will turn you into like a paramedic faster than your friend's bike crashing, because suddenly everyone was like, yeah, let's do this and let's patch up over here. Yeah.
Oh yeah. We probably should take some classes.
Yeah, maybe.
Get some proper first aid under our old belts.
We did fortunately have a first aid kit that Beth got me as a sort of joke, sort of serious thing for Christmas.
We should link it because it is a spectacular first aid kit.
We should. Yeah, it was very helpful.
We were incredibly.
You should have it. You should just have it in your car. Just cause.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, so moving on from your bike crash, because we had to discuss it. It was of course first and foremost. I want to take a hard right turn into a possible realization that I had in the field of cinema and film on the drive home. So, it's a big, long drive home from the bachelor party. That's the best segue I can give you.
Okay.
So like I'm sitting there and I'm like pondering things. And it's always really funny, like when we're hanging out with some of the guys who don't spend as much time around us in the context of what we do professionally.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like then these questions come up where they're like, oh, what was your take on this movie, or what were your thoughts on this, or like whatever. And so it's kind of fun because it is like one of these opportunities to like take a piece of media that like maybe we were particularly like frustrated with or had some like hot takes on, or something like where maybe it doesn't totally fit into how we approach our fandoms here on the Super Carlin Brothers channel, which typically the goal, I would say, is we want to come together around these things.
Yeah.
Like it is never my goal when we discuss any of our fandoms to try to inject into the divisive nature of some fandoms.
Right.
Like where some people might be like, oh, I loved this and I hated this. And it's like, you're either on team loved it or hated it, but it's like, we all love Star Wars, right? And it's like, and
oh boy. Yeah.
So, but you know what I'm saying, right?
I know what you're saying. Yes.
Nobody hates Star Wars more than people who love Star Wars.
Yes.
But like one topic in particular that I think has gone round and round and round and round and round and round and round is The Last Jedi.
Oh boy, yes.
So, and I'm gonna tread with caution here. Like, again, I want to be clear. My goal is not to try to separate our unity here as a collective.
Yeah.
As people on this channel, my goal is just to maybe include some bits of information, or maybe a discovery, or a perspective that I felt like I gained over the weekend as we were discussing this particular film, because The Last Jedi has felt like an odd one, where it's kind of like the general discussion around the movie, that, as far as I'm concerned, is it seems like many people who truly understand film and media and cinema regard it as the most well executed, the most well shot, the most functionally correct Star Wars movie there is. Like, it is the best in ways that most other Star Wars movies aren't even like really competing in.
Sure.
And I can give it that accolade as well. Like, I don't disagree with that sentiment.
Okay.
So generally what I've said about The Last Jedi is I think that it is a really good movie. It's just not a good Star Wars movie.
There is this like weird line of what makes for a good Star Wars movie, because it's almost like its own genre at this point.
Yes. And so I have two thoughts here. I'm going to start with one of them, and that is like, there has been a really big discussion that I feel like has existed, especially with the new Marvel shows that are coming out, which is this idea that like the show is meant to be enjoyed on its own. It is not intended, like, yes, it will be a part of the greater universe, but let's treat it as its own thing in a vacuum. How well does it tell a story start to finish.
Right.
And so I think that like when you look at something like WandaVision, for example, where, you know, we know Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is coming, and we know that there's been rumored discussions that all of the other Spider-Mans are going to be in the next Spider-Man movie. So it's like there's lots of stuff kind of like bubbling around the surface as to this thought of like, is WandaVision going to be the thing that sets up the break in separate realities?
Right.
In terms of like how all of a sudden are we going to start pulling these characters from every which way? And I would argue that Loki is also existing in that same conversation with the TVA and all of the different timelines and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they're talking about multiverses all over the place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So really, really, really what they're doing is taking our hand and walking us into what is this going to look like? Because one of the big questions that Marvel constantly has to answer whenever they introduce a new character, Captain Marvel, for example, is, well, where was she the whole time? Because, you know, it's like if there was this great big character, how come she didn't help in New York during the Battle of New York in the first Avengers movie? And so, you know, there always has to be that explanation as to like, oh, well, why weren't they there? They were over here instead. And similarly, hang on a second, let me see if I can catch my train of thought, because it was like,
there we go.
Okay, yes. I'm sorry. I'm back. So following Endgame, we're stepping into like a whole new saga. So like the Infinity Saga is closed.
Right.
You know, Thanos, the Gauntlet, all of that stuff, the Infinity Stones, hopefully just put to rest. It's done. And now we're starting a new one. But as we introduce all of these new characters who are going to comprise the significant players of what will eventually be the new Avengers, the new like big group movies like Civil War, where you start seeing people from every which way. You need to start telling these stories and being like, hey, there's this new person, or there's this person who's been around, or whatever the case may be. And again, attempt to answer the question of like, well, where have they been? And so I think that the multiverse in a lot of ways is a really, really, really solid answer to that question, because it's like, okay, where was I? I was in a different universe altogether, but now I can tell you need me here because this universe is the sacred one, and this is the one that we have to protect in order for all of the other ones to continue to exist and blossom. And then when things are over, I'll go back to my camp and you guys will continue to guard this place.
Okay.
Right? Like, so that's sort of like my thinking of it. But when you have something like WandaVision, you also have an audience of people who have all come to expect grand ramifications from every new piece of media that we get. You know, like Ant-Man and the Wasp comes out, and all of a sudden we realize that there's this quantum realm that we can like intentionally enter.
Right.
You know, and the quantum realm is massively significant to how
Endgame
plays out. Right. So it's like, you know, you go through Ant-Man and you're like, whoa, big piece of information just got dropped, and I know how this is going to play into the rest of the big story, or I know that it will play into the rest of the big story. So again, watching WandaVision, you go into it and you're watching a show and desperately wanting everything to be like the setup, you know, like the ramp that Marvel built that we're, you know, Silencio Brunoing our way off of into this brand new multiverse to deal with. But the other argument is, no, stop looking for how this is going to affect the greater universe. That's not the point of WandaVision. The point of WandaVision is the story of grief. It's the story of watching Wanda come to grips in her own unique way with the loss of all of the people that, you know, she loves. And it's a very powerful story, and it's very significant. And, you know, with Wanda at the center of that story, you know, there is all of that. But then there's the other layer of it, which is the introduction of a character from the Fox X-Men universe, which Disney has now purchased and owns the rights to, brother of the character Wanda, who is Pietro.
Right, yeah. Pietro from the X-Men universe shows up in WandaVision.
Exactly.
And you're like, wait a minute.
Yes. So like all of a sudden you're kind of like, oh man, I see what they're doing. And again, we're thinking big picture. We're thinking like, okay, like let's go beyond WandaVision. We're not even watching WandaVision anymore. We're watching the start of the great big saga.
Right.
What is coming next? But also forgetting the fact that we're like stage 1. We're at Iron Man, Iron Man 2, the Hulk. Like we're barely in there.
Right.
The Avengers have not been assembled yet. So it's like to think for them to do something absolutely spectacularly huge, it's almost like, well, then what can we deliver in the future as well?
Like, like you get to the end of WandaVision and you're like a little bit, are you trying to ask, like, is it disappointing that it was only just a tiny little bottle story about Wanda?
I'm asking the question because I think that there are plenty of people out there who would make the argument that stories are supposed to be confined. And it's like, it's good if it's confined. You know, how does it work as a standalone?
Well, I don't want to this is an interesting topic for you to bring up on today of all days.
Yeah.
Because I think there's just I don't think you've seen a certain show yet.
And wondered whether or not.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know how to weigh in on Loki, but you do.
Correct, yes. And I don't want to like spoil anything for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're on different sides of a curtain. But by the time people hear this, they'll be on your side of the curtain.
Certainly by the time, you're watching this on the premiere or when this comes out, I'm sure you will be on my side of the curtain.
Okay.
And it affects a lot of what you're saying a lot.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. So the great big grand question is, how much do you require these, especially in universe shows where realistically, like, each movie in my mind is becoming an episode? It's like, I understand that there are directors and actors and stories and source material and underlying themes and important values that any one movie is delivering. But like, I also feel like I cannot look at a detail of the big picture, you know, and appreciate it. Maybe not that I can't appreciate it, but like, I think that I always want to know how does it fit into the big frame.
I think things are different now because like, I think if you're watching Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, the first Avenger or whatever, like no one's ever done Avengers Endgame before.
Sure.
And, you know, maybe the people writing it don't even necessarily know where they're going.
Okay.
But and like you don't know in what possible ways things could come together, or that details you brought up in Thor, like, oh yeah, like we said that because we were writing Thor, but now we just sort of like, we need that not to be true anymore, or we have to like write around that stuff. Right. Like, you know, whatever the case may be. But like now you're in phase 4, and it's like, we had the entire Infinity Saga, and people now know. Like, now if we put something in, people are looking.
Right.
So it's like, I do think it is more intentional now, but I think you're right. Like, it's much more like you're watching episodes. But the question is, how do the streaming shows fit in? Because I would say previously, like, if you watched
like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Daredevil or Luke Cage or something, like the rule always seemed to be that the movies could have ramifications on the shows, but it was absolutely never the other direction.
Correct.
Like, nothing that happened in Luke Cage, it's not like, oh, wow, good thing I saw Luke Cage because now I understand something that's happening in Ant-Man.
Correct.
You know, like,
yep, agree with that.
It always goes down. But now you have these shows coming out on Disney Plus, which are like almost bigger movies.
There is, yeah. I would make the argument that it went from a one-way street where you could affect from film down to now. I want the argument to be that it's a two-way street. That that seeing these shows is, I mean, it doesn't need to be the like introducing the big bad or something. Like, I'm okay with waiting for it to be something else. I'm so frustrated that I haven't seen Loki yet because the expressions that you're giving me right now. Okay. This is going to be hilarious. I'm 100% sure. Okay, it can introduce the big bad. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
What I'm attempting to say, though, is that like, I think that in order for WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Loki and in whatever else we get, you know, going forward, I think in order for those to be the worthwhile investments that I would argue they absolutely are, is that they need those ramifications. Like, I am all in on those being important.
Like,
to it.
Required watching. Not required.
I mean, required always does feel like, you know, I appreciate the ability to offer enough exposition in any story that you could sit down and watch Endgame and by the end of it be excited that, you know, Cap catches the hammer or whatever.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel certain that, you know, if you go, because Wanda's going to be in Doctor Strange too, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's confirmed. And I feel pretty confident that even if you didn't watch a single episode of WandaVision, that when Wanda shows up in her brand new sparkly costume, and like they will give you like the 1 paragraph summary of kind of what happened.
Yes.
It'll be like, I'm
it-
looking for my children who got lost, in time or whatever. And it's like, what happened to you? Like, new costume? Like, they'll make a joke about it or something.
Right.
Like, but you won't need to have seen WandaVision. I doubt. It's like in the same way with like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like when Sam next shows up in a movie in his full Captain America costume, like you're not gonna question like, wait a minute, where'd he get that? Like you just know like, oh yeah, it'll make sense. Like, yeah, Steve gave Sam the shield. Now here he is as Captain America. Like,
right.
But if you want to go back and see the in between,
like the backfill,
it does exist.
Yes.
So there is that, and I think that's probably how like WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier have mostly operated thus far.
Okay.
I am not so sure about Loki.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Reasonable.
Yeah.
I like to think of it almost as like a two-way mirror, but like it's you're the person who's looking at the mirror, and if you're just watching Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, you will be able to see yourself looking back at you, which is the purpose of a mirror. And I feel like watching these shows is understanding that it's a two-way mirror and that there's something else behind the mirror.
Oh, wow. That was quite a metaphor there.
Thank you. Thank you. Just thought of it as we were talking.
Well, just because you bring up mirrors, let me take another hard left turn.
Oh dear.
Yeah, because we were like blowing our minds last week discussing mirrors and how the mirrorverse you was like, it's their left hand, but it's your right hand.
Whereas
if you
we
like,
wrong?
no, absolutely no. That's absolutely correct.
Oh, okay.
If you're staring in a mirror, the person you're staring at, like you're seeing a reflection of your right hand, but it's actual mirror versus you's left hand.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So to that end, it occurred to me that like whenever I style my hair, I style it so that I think it looks good in the mirror.
Oh.
So I was thinking, have I been styling my hair on the wrong side the whole time? Like it was like blowing my mind. I'm like, because I think I want it to look like how it looks in the mirror.
But it occurs to me now that it's the opposite
it's on
to
the
everyone
other
else.
side. Yeah, it's like everyone else is seeing it on the other side. I'm like, oh no.
But this is where I almost think that like you're wrong. Like you're right by being wrong. Like what looks good to you in the mirror is like what it's like I don't know how to explain this. Like I think your hair looks great.
Okay.
Like it would seem odd if it went the other way.
Well, yeah, to you.
To me, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like you only ever see yourself in the mirror. The rest of us see you not in a mirror. So like, you don't want to throw us off.
Right.
Which actually brings me to like a very brilliant segue into an anecdote. I don't even know, Mom and Dad, if you're listening, you're gonna have to tell me if this is actually true.
Okay.
There's an anecdote that I feel like I have told about our dad, like for years and years.
Okay.
And that was that at some point in time, being a TV news broadcaster, he changed the direction of his part the other way.
Yeah.
And that like it caused tension with the audience and his bosses.
I think the way I've heard that story was that, yeah, like when he started being on air, like they had, stylists and professional image people or whatever come in and like do it. And it was the same way for so long. Then one day he was just like, I'm just gonna do it the other way because I like it the other way, or something, and just like didn't ask anyone. And like then his bosses were all like, you can't just change your hair.
Right. Yeah. It's like people rely on your hair.
They need that hair, John.
I know. Yeah. So that's it's so funny though, but I've always thought that was like the most interesting thing in the world, that like it's like because it's so critical to how people perceive him, it's like you can't change your hair.
Yeah.
And similarly, I actually had a dream last night that I was like shaving like the neck end of my beard, and I accidentally just like took off half of my beard entirely and was like, well, now I have to shave the other half entirely. And I was like, man, it's going to take months to get back to being bearded. And now people are going to see me unbearded. It's like a weird fear. It's like accidentally messing up my beard, and then the realization that it will take time to return it
right
to its proper place.
Yeah, but it's not like it isn't a permanent problem.
It's not
'Cause
a
it will
permanent
come
problem,
back.
but it is the case that during this period of time that I would be filming lots of content where
That's
it would
true.
become a permanent.
It would be preserved on the internet permanently.
Yes.
Because you would be filmed so heavily.
Okay, so I also have to tell you this because one odd thing about my mustache or beard combo,
Yeah.
you know, they're like separate.
Your facial hair.
My facial hair,
Yeah.
they're like separate features, but also come together and join hands to be one feature.
Right.
So I've grown my beard out longer. And again, if you've been listening to the pop for a long time, there was like a period of time that actually started with our first pregnancy, where I was like, oh, like I'm gonna go 9 months, like a 9-month beard.
Yeah.
And that was the real reason that I was doing it originally.
Oh, okay.
Is I was like, you know, as
Like
Allie
when
was,
when you were pitching everyone else on Year of the Beard.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I actually meant was pregnancy of the beard.
But you didn't want to like announce that you were pregnant yet.
Yeah, it was too early to announce,
I
and
see.
then in some capacity, it ended in a miscarriage, which is, it was obviously it was very sad, but it was also kind of like one of those things where it's like, well, maybe it was a good thing I didn't make it out to be that reason as to why I was doing it.
Oh, okay.
But so similar to how I grew out my beard to begin with, which was just like me and you did No Shave November, and at
Yeah.
the end of it, I was kind of like, oh, I actually don't mind this. I'm just going to keep it, and I just have never shaved it ever since. Well, I may have shaved it, but like, you know, I've kept the beard the whole time. But so before I grew out my beard longer, there was one side of my mustache that really doesn't connect as well as the other side.
I see. You have like a dead space or something.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's like an area where like my beard is just like less full, and for a long time people like I remember like used to like leave comments and stuff like that, and they're like, why doesn't your beard connect? And I think that they thought I was just making like, you know, trimming mistakes and like accidentally like consistently cutting, and it's not the case. It's
This
just
is a
like
fashion decision.
I know, but so it got cleared up rather significantly by way of just growing my beard longer, so that like it filled in it filled in the hole, basically.
Right, yeah.
So what's been really interesting about it is that like my beard on the whole is kind of like only okay-ish. Like it's not like a very like robust, like full beard, but my mustache is. It's
I
like,
see.
yeah. So it's like the woman who cuts my hair, who I've been working with for like 8 years now or something. She is always like, she's like, man, your mustache game is like great. You know, it's like if you just ever wanted to go like only mustache, you'd be like,
Maybe you should.
Well, and so here's the query. It has been like one of these things where it's like, well, maybe what I should do is just try to see what I would look like with only a mustache, and like, because then it's like, you know, I mean, and it's so funny because I could do like the twisted up thing
could
on
you?
the ends.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like it'd be like, but then I'm also like, am I that guy?
Are you a mustache guy?
And I have no issue with that guy. I need
Yeah.
to be very clear about that. Like, that's not something that like I see that and I'm like, choice. I'm like, nice.
Yeah.
And I would probably tell people like, love that mustache.
Whoa.
But it's kind of like, it's like, you know, you see yourself in the reflection of the self identity mirror, as it were, not a legitimate mirror, but like the way that you see yourself out in the world. And I'm like, do I see myself as like a beeswaxed mustache kind of fellow?
Oh, I bet it would get a lot of comments.
I bet it would get a lot of comments.
Comments are good for the YouTube algorithm, Ben. Do it.
All right, leave a comment if you're in on this plan. Also, I absolutely cannot do it until after Mike and Sammy's wedding next month, because they would murder me. Can't do that.
Yeah. Like, yeah, remember when Ben tried out a mustache for a week? Yeah. It's in all the pictures.
Great. Forever.
Yep.
Yeah, so
That'd be great.
I haven't committed to it yet.
Okay. Yet.
Not yet. Okay,
Let
so
Ben know how much you want the mustache, everyone.
I know. Okay, so we were skittering along on my conversation about The Last Jedi that actually formed into a conversation about
right,
Marvel.
Star Wars. Let's circle back.
We're gonna come full circle. Okay, so here is my grand conclusion to everything, and I think it works. I think that it works, but I want to know if you guys also think that it works, because I think that The Last Jedi came out during a period of time where there was a stylistic choice that was happening in other forms of media, which people refer to as the subversion of expectations.
Still going on.
Still going on.
Yeah.
So the subversion of expectations, you and I talk about a lot about how like Frozen was a great example of this.
Yes.
Where like, you think you're watching this, your classic fairy tale princess story where, there's true love's kiss that saves the day. And at the end of the story, what actually happens is it's on a sacrifice, like the familial, the sibling love.
Right.
That is the act of true love that actually like saves everything.
Right. It's not romantic love.
It's not romantic love.
Yeah.
And you're like, and I think it is so well executed.
It's that, and then it's the Hans reveal as well.
Right.
Because Hans in every other movie is just actually the prince who saves the day.
Right.
And they
right.
they get it twice because like you think it's Hans and then you're like, oh no, they tricked me. It wasn't Hans. And you're like, that's okay because it was Kristoff, but then it also wasn't Kristoff.
Yes. It's a double whammy.
It's a double whammy.
But so what I want to identify about this particular execution is that I think that it is a really good execution of the genre that is subversion of expectations.
Oh.
See? Okay. So it's not, if you call it a genre, all of a sudden, it doesn't just mean that subverting expectations is a good thing. It's like, just because it's a horror movie doesn't mean it's a good movie, but there are good horror movies, but not all horror movies are good. Not all subversion of expectations is good, Game of Thrones. So it's like, a lot of Game of Thrones subversion of expectations was good. It was.
Like you don't think Ned Stark is actually gonna die,
or Robb Stark.
Yeah, you don't think the Red Wedding, like you're watching, you're like, this feels pretty irreversible.
Right.
Oh, it's real. Oh,
that's it.
Okay. Wow.
That's just over.
The bad guys just actually won. Okay. Oh, wow. That's how they're gonna do it. Okay.
Yeah. I thought Robb was the main character. No, he's not.
Yeah. Turns out.
Never in the show again. But yeah. So okay. So here is like the thing that I feel like that I feel most comfortable with is that like I feel like people applauded The Last Jedi for subversion of expectations. Like the moment when, the famous lightsaber that Darth Vader cut off of Luke's hand has been recovered by, Maz, who gives it to Rey, who goes through this entire saga of discovery and then finds Luke, who is like the missing piece to everything, and reaches out very famously, like at the end of the movie where Mark Hamill says absolutely no words. And you're like, whoa, like,
yeah.
How is he going to respond? It's just like, this is unreal. Like, whoa, like so fun, such good Star Wars.
Right.
It's epic. There's great music. There's great camera angles. There's like unspoken tension in the moment. And then you get to The Last Jedi and it's like, the handoff occurs and I would say it's a bad horror movie. Like,
right,
it's bad subversion of expectations.
Right, like Luke does something you didn't expect, and like it does subvert your expectations, but just because it did that doesn't make it good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so that is why I think subversion of expectations is a genre, not like it's like it is something that can be executed well or not well.
Well,
just because it did it doesn't mean it's good.
I agree with that. This is like, this is going to sound like such a random comparison, but I always used to think about this when I was watching Yu-Gi-Oh as a kid.
Okay.
Because in the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh, Maximilian Pegasus, the big villain of the show, has the Millennium Eye, and he can see his opponent's cards, which gives him, this magnificent advantage, just unstoppable or whatever.
Of course.
He's also the creator of the game, so he can just cheat and give himself whatever he wants. But anyway, I always thought it doesn't seem... It's like, it's great that he could see the opponent's cards, but if you can't do anything about it, it doesn't matter whether or not you can see them.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? It's like, just because you can like see the thunderclouds coming doesn't mean you can do anything about the storm.
Sure, that's a very good point. That's a very good point.
It's like, just because you can see a bad thing, it's like, it doesn't matter if you still can't defend against it.
Right.
So anyway, the thing about subversion of expectations as like a potential genre is that you can only successfully subvert expectations when expectations have been established.
Also true.
Which is why I think Frozen was so successful.
Is because everybody knows how fairy tale stories go.
Everyone's seen every Disney movie 1,000 times, and it was, I guess Tangled came out first, but this was like this big musical Disney princess movie, and like it's always gone the same way every time, and because like they use that knowledge against you,
yes,
and like to great effect.
Yes.
Like Frozen is my favorite example of subverting expectations. I think it's just masterpiece. And then I think like Disney tried to repeat over and over with like Wreck-It Ralph and Zootopia, and they're like, oh, but I don't think those do as good a job. Like they have like their twist villains at the end, but it's not the same. Those are more just like twist villains. I wouldn't even say it successfully subverts you.
Sure. Yeah, but, no, I understand that. And I mean, yeah, because that's a good point. Like, the fact that it's Merryweather in Zootopia who ends up being
Bellwether. Yeah.
Bellwether, yes. The small ship, the adorable what seems like assistant to the giant lion guy who is like whatever. That is more like the Hans reveal.
Yeah.
A little bit where it's like, oh, twist. Okay. Didn't see that coming. But I think with Frozen you can double down to the tune of the sisterly love versus the romantic love.
Right.
And that's really like what seals it.
I agree.
That much further.
Yeah.
But so and correct me if I'm wrong. So maybe what you were saying a little bit here is you can only subvert expectations in situations where the expectations have already been set. But if you start to expect subverted expectations, then what does that do?
Then is the subversion just to do what's expected?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, oh, everybody thinks it's going to be a twist. It's not a twist. It's just exactly what happened. Great subversion of expectations. And it's like, no, that's just expectations.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Because I feel like I've heard people provide accolade to that thought. Like everybody thought it was going to be a twist ending. You know what? It wasn't a twist ending. So at all you people. And it's like, no. That is a bad defense.
This is basically what WandaVision did.
It's exactly
they played against your expectation of the subversion of expectations, because you're like, it's going to be something big, it's going to be something crazy, it's going to be some weird reveal, and it was just like, no, it was Agnes the whole time. It was pretty obvious it was Agnes the whole time. It was Agnes,
right.
Except slash not really, because she doesn't do. She's just also there.
She's just also arrived.
She's just also there. It was mostly Wanda.
Right. Yeah.
Everything was Wanda.
Right. So, but you're exactly right. That's a very good example of it, where you keep thinking this very unexpected conclusion is going to happen, versus the classic Marvel approach to have the villain basically have the exact same powers as the hero.
Yeah.
It's like if Ant-Man can get small, so can the villain.
And if Wanda's a witch, then the enemy's a witch. And Vision's a cyborg, guess what? Another Vision. Let's go.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're constantly watching that unfold. The thing that I've been very curious about with Loki the entire time is the fact that he is a trickster, and it's strange to think of being a trickster as a as a power.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh my gosh.
Oh, the mind games it plays with you as the viewer.
I know.
Yeah.
It is actually a rather unique power to anticipate, like, what would the foil to Trickster's power be other than an even better trickster?
Right.
And is like Loki's, like, and of course I'll know by the time anybody else is hearing this, but is it him overcoming his trickster nature and no longer being a trickster? I don't know. I need to, though.
Yeah.
Don't give me any visual clues.
I won't tell you anything.
There you go.
Yeah.
So anyway, subversion of expectations. I'm out.
There you go. So wait. So where do you land on The Last Jedi then?
Oh, I think it is a poor execution of. I think Last Jedi is technically good for so many reasons. I think its subversion of expectations
fails
in terms of genre. Mm-hmm. Fails. I think it's bad. I think the fact that like Leia flies through space is not good. Because especially even with where the story ultimately ends up going, like when Kylo Ren kills Han Solo, the big thing to me in The Force Awakens is like you believe what happened there as Kylo Ren killed his father.
You know what? The Leia thing is a great example, because Leia otherwise dies within like the first like 20 minutes of the movie, I think, or like when she gets blasted by Kylo Ren into space, or not by him, by his other cronies.
Oh, yes.
Right. Yeah. She's like off floating in space. And like it happened so early in the movie that like had they just let it happen, that alone would have subverted my expectations. Like, oh my gosh, they killed off big guns real early and like let it happen. Like that was insane. So it was like, I was almost like, obviously, I was really sad that I thought the character was dead.
Of course.
Like, no way. But, like, at the same time, then when she was, like, back alive, I was like, oh, are you kidding?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, and I thought it was going to work perfectly. I thought it was going to work beautifully because it's not Kylo Ren who ultimately pulls the trigger. Right. And so if you go back to the Han Solo moment, you have this situation where they're talking to each other as father and son. And it's like, he's basically like, help me, Dad. Like, help me. And what ultimately happens is the lightsaber turns on and you're sort of like, like did he like manipulate him?
It's a great ambiguous situation. Like,
yes,
did Kylo Ren like deceive him into like letting him get close with the lightsaber, or was he genuinely asking for help?
In which case, Han pressed the button, and if because in my mind it's like if Han presses the button and Han is looking at him and he's like, I understand, like, I have to sacrifice myself because you have to kill me. And the only way for you to continue doing good is for everyone else to think that you killed me. And it's like, I am with you. I have your back. I will press the button. Right. You don't have, this is me. My death is me supporting you, right? Not you turning your back on me. And to me, the way that I see Kylo Ren as a character at that point in time is like, he effectively can't turn to the dark side because the only thing that he could have done to do that,
to like fully go like from 99 to 100
is to kill his father,
right?
Or to kill one of his parents, right. And then ultimately that's the same thing that happens. So you're in this like air raid situation. He's got her on lock. He can press the button. They're both sensing each other, and it's like he doesn't do it, but then someone else does, and it's the same situation as Han. It's like the bad guys shot themselves in the foot because now the only other remaining opportunity that he could have gone to, the lengths he could have gone to have like made his commitment to the dark side, has also been taken from him.
Right.
And so it's like
oh, you know what you could have done? You know what you really could have done?
Lay it on me.
I will lay it on you.
Oh, wow.
Was have them having that connection and then have her make one of the other pilots pull the trigger.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That would have been good.
That would have been it right
Especially if there was like a small gesture, because we don't know that Leia is force sensitive yet. Like,
exactly.
That she could have made that ultimately, like when you come back and watch it knowing that she is force sensitive, you're like,
yes.
Like
because that's what you'd be like, wait, was that?
Like, yeah, like if she like kind of like lifts her hand and like, you know, like almost even like does like a joystick movement or like a press of the thumb or something.
Well, because you've seen her like, you saw her like feel Han's death from afar.
Yes.
You know, like there's some amount of force sensitivity, and she sort of talked to Luke in Empire.
You don't know that she's a fully trained Jedi.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, you know, the fact that you're learning that by way of her being blasted into space and then space traveling, you know, back to the ship or whatever it's kind of like you went from like knowing that she had force sensitivity, like maybe at 10 out of 100 to like 180.
Yeah. Like,
you know, it's like, oh wow, she can survive in space and fly. And okay, yeah, this is new, unprecedented, big, important. So anyway, that's where I land on it. And I mean, it's like one of those things you can go round and round and round all day. And it's just a question of like, what is important to you about cinema? What is important to you about Star Wars?
Oh, I know. This is like what's when you ask like what's your favorite Star Wars movie? It's such like a hard question. Like even when we do the reviews, we have to like give ratings. It's like, what is the rating about? And like for me, it's typically just like, how much did I enjoy this movie?
Yeah,
you know, not like what is the cinema quality of this?
Well, and we're not qualified to make those decisions.
Sure.
Like, you know, I mean, that's what it really comes down to is, I mean, we have not like worked film sets. You know, we're not, we've studied movies.
Actually, Ben, let me just say that I have worked on a film set. And I only bring this up because someone in the Reddit posted that, they remember me mentioning that I worked on the movie Lake Effect starring Jane Seymour.
Nice.
And it turns out in 2020, Jane Seymour starred in a movie called, wait for it, Friendsgiving.
No way.
Can we only assume
That
she remembers having worked with me briefly
and then listens
to the pop. I mean,
everybody
what
knows.
else? We all know Jane Seymour, huge fan of the pop.
We all know it. We all know it. Absolutely spectacular.
Absolutely.
If there's a reference to Easton von Pavia anywhere
in
Friendsgiving, then I will say headcanon.
If there is a single French fry in that movie.
Even one. If it opens on a scene of French fries, then I will be even more... we should get really into Jane Seymour theories.
Yeah, right? Dr. Quinn, medicine woman, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, that was her.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
Okay. All right. So anyway, we've spent time there. We can now depart into the next topic of the day.
Okay.
Let's see if I've got one for you.
Okay.
The illusion of certainty is intoxicating.
The illusion of certainty is intoxicating.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let me give the little colonels a little background here, because this quote, I believe I sent it to you.
You sent it to me, and it has like resonated like a tuning fork inside of me.
Well, Beth sent it to me first, and I was like, oh man, it was like someone had put into words something I've been like ruminating on for years.
Yeah.
Like, what am I trying to say? Okay, so I will read you. This was from the Instagram account of Adam Grant, who just posts a lot of very positive quotes and stuff like this, which I guess are of his own origin.
Maybe, hopefully.
I think so. I think they're all...
At the very least, we will give credit as far as we know how to give credit.
I think this is an Adam Grant original. Okay. I think he's like a psychologist or something. I don't know. He has a lot of followers. And I've been enjoying following him on Instagram. So anyway, here's the full quote.
Give it to me.
Asserting an opinion forcefully doesn't make it come true. The person you're most likely to convince is you. Beware of conviction masquerading as knowledge. The illusion of certainty can be intoxicating. The hill you're willing to die on may be one you shouldn't have climbed. Yeah.
Such powerful stuff.
Oh no, I was like, that is all just exact. That's exactly it.
And this is, so like, I've had gripe with things for a while. I think, when I see folks post, and not that I am ever upset that someone's advocating for anything, but if they're advocating with like a raised voice, typically, is like where I draw the line. I'm like, I think that you are now officially only speaking to people who only agree with you, instead of speaking to people who, at the very least, I would argue you are creating the illusion that you are attempting to speak to them, when in reality you are not speaking to them, because nobody ever changes their mind because they were yelled at.
Right. Well, that's the front half of that quote, which is the person you're most likely to convince is you. Yes.
So the thing that I think has always boiled me from the inside out with moments like this is this extreme curiosity that I have in my brain, and I've never really been able to articulate it before, but like, I see people like make these comments or stand behind something that might be like more of like a new movement that hasn't maybe been around so long, and it's kind of like all of a sudden you're like vehement about it, and I'm like, my jealousy, and that's what it is like, you know what you stand for, like, and I'm saying jealousy, and I'm saying you know what you stand for, but really what I'm saying is, you have given me the illusion of certainty, that you feel so certain about this topic that you are willing to post this thing that is like yelling into the void.
And strong opinions about strong things.
Strong opinions about strong things. And when I see that, I'm like, I wish I had your conviction. Like, I wish I knew that, like, I could see that and have absolutely no questions and know that it is 100% the right thing, which is, from my perspective, the only scenario in which you would be sharing something like this is because it is hardened facts. Like, you know it, you believe it, you are like so well equipped to have made this statement. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that I know that you know about me, because it comes up constantly, is that like, I am always asking these like great big giant, what is the meaning of life questions.
Yeah.
And I think that depending on the person who's listening, these conversations are either fun and engaging or incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
And I think that like sometimes it's like, why are we trying to tackle this question? This is not like an answerable question. And this past weekend, you and I we were at the bachelor party and we were at dinner and we were having a conversation about like the idea of utopia. And we were, going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
Right.
And it was like this big thing that I think like kind of went from just like this pie in the sky discussion to like maybe being like right on that fence of like tense a little bit. And so walking away from it and like really spending time thinking about like, why am I asking these questions? Like what am I trying to accomplish when I'm asking them? Like what, because it's like, I know that I'm curious, but I've never really known why I'm curious. Like what is at the core of all of it?
Right. Because like from the outset, it doesn't seem like there's like it feels like from the outset, even there's not like an obvious answer.
Yeah.
Right.
And so most of the time what I'm genuinely trying to do is to learn. So my general belief would be that if you were to take 10 people and be able to combine all of their experiences into one consciousness, that you would have a person who is now super powered because they would have knowledge and perspective and all of these things that would fill in so many gaps that exist in my own existence.
Or would you have a camel?
You might have a camel. You might, where there's a lot of competing ideas. But I think in a lot of ways, the question is the answer. Mm-hmm. So my question is, what is at the core of all this? Why am I like, where is this curiosity spawned from? Like, what am I trying to accomplish with asking all of these things over and over and over again? Like, what is the meaning of life? What is the most important thing? Like all of this stuff.
Getting like very Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy here.
Maybe.
What is the answer is 42.
Yes.
What is the question?
Right.
The question is the answer.
Well, but for me, what it is this desire to feel this certainty about something. Like I don't actually know what cause it is that I can take all of these different like problems of the world and take like all of these tendrils from them and all of these strings and tie them right into the core of a belief that I like stand behind. Because if I can find the middle of that, then I would be able to have a kind of like certainty about my worldview that I think would like, it would unlock, I feel like what I feel like my, as like
what's your
Carlin,
purpose?
What is my purpose is.
Right.
Like I don't know if this is the case for more people, but very frequently, especially around like election time and stuff like that, like if I'm like watching debates or interviews or whatever the case may be, I'm always imagining myself in the chair. Like, what would I have said? What would I have done differently? Like,
I think because so often, like if someone has like if you have like found, if you've decided this is your opinion, it is like, it feels safe. Like now I know how I will respond. And like, it feels safe because otherwise, if you have not landed on like a firm opinion, then if someone were to ask you about it and they have a strong opinion, like it would be worse or embarrassing to just like to not know. And it's scary to not know. So if you choose, it's like I now choose that I know.
Oh, sure. Yes. Yes.
And it's like, but do you?
Right. And so that's kind of like the thing is it's almost like, if there was like a giant like battlefield where there's like your side and the other side, and the other side has this giant like being in the middle that is able to send down like little infantry troops in this giant circle all around it. And my side is going and fighting their side in all of these little things. But at no point in time do I ever realize that I'm supposed to go and attack the guy in the middle who's spawning all of these other opponents. Does that make sense? So it's like if all of these different issues are existing out on the fringe and nobody's ever focusing on the core, then it's almost like, are we all just being distracted from progress because nobody actually knows what to pay attention to? And the thing that you as an individual pay attention to is the thing that you are most emotionally attached to. And so I'm not expecting an answer to that question. Like,
Right.
that's not something that I think someone could answer, or whether or not it's even true.
I bet people are offering up answers.
Someone probably is. But so for me, it's like what it comes down to, and watching, you know, these debates and stuff and politics or whatever, it's like there is a compulsion inside of me to be involved, you know, like to try and go and like make a difference in the world, to try and go and like be one of those figures. But it's like it's like if I could find the answer to these questions and get to that core of everything and could go and firmly believe in what I was doing, then I would sign up to run for office tomorrow.
Really?
Tomorrow. Like, you know, it would be like, let's go. But like, if I were to go and sign up to run for office now, I genuinely wouldn't have something that I knew I stood for. You know, it's like there's not something like where I feel like I have the solution, you know? So like all I could do is go in and at very, very best attempt to be a voice of reason or let other voices be heard. But like, even that is not a strategy, you know? It's, and I feel like, you know, if you wanted to make it not so big pie in the sky, you know, like existential or whatever the case may be, I mean, it could literally be even the same reason that like I don't like to go and play board games, is because it's like I can't look at the game and figure out the strategy fast enough to where it will be compelling to me to sit down and be like, okay, I'm centered. I know what I'm trying to do. I know what I'm going to accomplish, and all of my decisions revolve around the same strategy, and that strategy is strong, and it's like rooted in knowledge, right. You know, like that it will work. And if I'm making all the decisions that revolve around that strategy, then I'm never even making a frivolous decision. Right. Like every single decision is the best decision that is capable based on my strategy, which I will stick to. Right. And I do think that there's a difference between sticking to your guns, you know, sort of like I am never standing down from my point, and sort of like a core idea, and making sure that everything else that branches off of that core idea then all fits together really nicely. It's like if we make this the goal, then it can be the answer to how we handle a lot of these situations, because then what we're attempting to figure out is what's the goal. And so most frequently I will ask questions and ask questions and ask questions. And really what I'm attempting to figure out is what any other person, any friend that I have, anybody who will talk to me, is what is your perception of best case scenario? Like, what does that world look like? And it's why this whole conversation started, is because we were talking about Utopia, and it was sort of like, what does that look like to any one person? And it's subjective, you know? I mean,
yeah. And it's also, I mean, maybe not everyone is actively trying to achieve that.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And it's hard to, you know, I mean, me and you talked about this a little bit after the discussion, and in some capacity, there's like that thought of like, am I just going and trying to empty the ocean with a teaspoon? Right. You know, and it's like you're trying to make you as the teaspoon attempting to make change on the ocean is like, it's like that isn't something you should dwell on, because no one person can ever drain the ocean with a teaspoon. Right. It is, you are physically incapable of doing it. Right. Or even making a dent.
I mean, the entire population of the Earth could take teaspoons to the ocean and not make a dent.
Exactly.
You know?
Yes.
Yes. You can't. There's nowhere to put the water.
Right.
The water's going back.
The water's going to go back. Yeah, because it takes up more than most of the planet.
Right.
Where's it going to go, guys? Right. We can't just put it into a big mason jar. Right. So, you know, in a lot of ways, like I think I gained some perspective over the weekend to the tune of like why people might be hesitant to have these conversations with me, because maybe you're asking them to try to empty the ocean with a teaspoon. But then also I think that maybe what I understood about myself walking away from these conversations is that I am on this quest to figure out whatever that core ideal is. Right. And, and if I could figure it out, then I would not stop.
Well, so you need to maybe stop trying to empty the ocean with a teaspoon and just like take a jar down and keep the water with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good way.
This is my important water, and I will do everything to keep this water safe.
Do not mess with my jar.
I got a jar, Dad.
I'm gonna get a mason jar of water.
Ben's water. Ben's purpose.
Ben's purpose.
There you go.
Oh my goodness gracious! I want to know what would be in everybody else's jar.
What's in your jar of purpose?
Oh my god! What a great.
That sounds like the name of your book or something.
It does.
Man, maybe that should be your new purpose, right? The jar of purpose.
The jar. My brain is being shattered
Wow.
over and over and over again in this conversation.
Glad I could help.
Thank you. Why don't we make our way to the door of today's episode with a nice corny joke?
Oh, I would love it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Corny joke comes from Maria Rosales, who says, "Did you hear about the guy who invented knock knock jokes?"
Did I hear about the guy? I feel like "who's there" is what I'm supposed to say, but I don't know.
That is incorrect. Instead, it's he won the Nobel Prize.
Oh, I get because that's hilarious. No more doorbells.
Would the advent of the knock knock joke qualify as Nobel Prize worthy? It's like,
I mean, who doesn't know about knock knock jokes? No one. You never like knock knock. People are like, what are you doing?
I don't understand what comes next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a setup or?
It's iconic. So actually, this is I'm gonna maybe we can branch it back to Marvel just a smidgen here because I actually do have feedback on this. We've talked before about the Academy Awards having a category for like cinema that was just what?
I'm remembering a very old episode of The Pop and my favorite knock knock joke.
What is it?
So, okay, ready? Are you ready? Why did the chicken cross the road?
To get to the other side.
To get to the idiot's house.
I don't remember this joke.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
The chicken.
Holy buckets. Now that was good.
Right?
Ethan, I hope you
It's
added,
a twofer.
I hope you added a laugh track.
Yeah.
Because that was good.
That's my favorite one.
Man, I feel like I was just gobsmacked.
Yeah, you were just got.
I was just got. Okay, so anyway, like I was saying, more importantly, is we talked at one point in time about Academy Awards and whether or not there should be an award for something like Avengers Endgame. Like, I agree, it's not necessarily the picture, it's not the movie that should win Best Picture. And probably it was nominated for, editing or sound or something like that. Like, surely there's something for it. But I'm thinking of it as the entity that it is, which is, I would argue, a significant piece of media. Mm-hmm. It's substantial. It probably changes many things. It is the result of, over 10 years of merging stories.
World building. And,
It's a remarkable feat. And so what I've discussed before is should there be a category for most entertaining film? Best blockbuster film, something like that. And I've decided that I don't think that either of those things are. I just think that quite literally, and this goes back to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which also did not win an Academy Award because the year that it came out, there was no Academy Award for Best Animated Picture. And so it would be there's not a category for this, despite the fact that it's a remarkable feat, again, in media. And so the following year, they basically created a special Academy Award that they gave to Walt Disney that was one big Academy Award with 7 smaller Academy Awards next to it. And that was his trophy as a piece of recognition for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Right.
And so that is my conclusion, is I think that Avengers Endgame should be given an Academy Award
for achievements in cinema.
Special significance in cinema.
Right.
And that's it. It's not a category. You don't vote on it. It's just there's no way to ignore the importance of it.
Right. Whether you think what it did for cinema was a good thing or a bad thing, it happened.
It happened.
And it was big.
Yes.
And it is a turn in the road.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so it's they don't have to have them every year. It could be one of those things where maybe there's a movie that people perceived had this level of significance and should have earned one, and they would now be able to just fall into that happy little category of snubbed films, snubbed actors, which is already a thing. We already have that, whether or not you didn't win, whether or not you weren't nominated. And so it's oh man, they totally should have earned the Special Achievement Award. And so that's my answer to that big question. I think we asked in like maybe the first like 15 episodes of the Pop.
Okay, yeah.
Is I would give, if I was a member of the Academy,
Yeah.
I would give Avengers Endgame this award.
Okay. Awesome. Me too.
Let it be known.
Okay.
There we go. Otherwise, guys, thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Be sure to let us know what you would put inside of your jar of purpose, because now I need to know. Any responses that you want to send via email, you can send to popcornculturepod@gmail.com. We're also over on Reddit. And as an additional reminder, we are going to be moving the Popcorn Culture video portion over to the YouTube channel, Popcorn Culture, very fittingly, from the Super Carlin Brothers. That's going to be a slow transition over the next month or so. So you've got plenty of time, but if you'd like to go and check it out, and please subscribe over there. We will continue to have the same show, the same interaction that we always have, just in a new happy home.
Just different spot.
Otherwise, guys, until next week.
Pop, pop.